My name is Alan Quinn, and today's guest on the podcast is Stanley Anderson, CEO of Hyundai South Africa. Stanley discusses his 25-year history with Hyundai and the brand's successful establishment in the South African car market over the last 2 decades. It enjoys a position as one of the top 4 passenger car brands, despite some highly aggressive competition, including the Chinese manufacturers. Our conversation covers Hyundai's product strategy, including the limitations of full EVs, and their strategy to use plug-in hybrids and other hybrids as the sweet spots for South African consumers. Stanley also describes Hyundai's unique vertically integrated retail models. It owns 43 of its dealerships, which allows it to directly control parts and after-sales service, which Stanley highlights as important considerations for consumers as they consider the Hyundai brand. It does this to maintain focus and trust, as consumers value the company's reliable parts supply and after-sales service and established track record through these dealerships. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the Cars.co.za podcast. We are here again at naamsa Auto Week in, it's windy Port Elizabeth today. And I'm very honoured to have Stanley Anderson with me, the CEO of Hyundai Automotive South Africa. Welcome, Stanley, to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
So, Stanley, you're quite new to the Hyundai position?
New in the position, but not new in Hyundai. I've been with Hyundai now 25 years.
Have Hyundai been in the country 25 years?
Yes, even longer. The previous distributor launched the brand in 1995, so 30 years ago. But then they closed doors end of 1999. And in 2000, AMH, Associated Motor Holdings, which was then a division of the Imperial Holdings, signed the distribution agreement in April. And in June, we started selling vehicles in the dealerships.
All these Chinese brands coming to the country, we always wonder how long it will take for them to, establish their brands in the country. But actually, the template's already been done. You've already done it. Hyundai has built your brand, but that's 20 years now.
Yes, so I think they follow a very similar strategy that we had in 2001 and 2002. We had better spec vehicles and probably 15% below our main competitors then, which the competitor set was very different. It was really Volkswagen and Toyota you had to beat, to get market share. So they're doing very similar, just with a lot more brands coming in.
But I mean, as you said, the proposition is the same. Hyundai came with very tech-heavy vehicle, and really established that picture of tech-heavy in the consumer's mind, which is similar to the template of where you are. But you guys have been fantastic. You're number 4, I think.
Number 4 in passenger cars, and some months we're number 4, even if you include LCVs as well. Overall number 4. And there's now, I think, more than 60 brands in this market. So we're very happy with where we are now, and hopefully we'll remain there.
And look, we did our DealerCon recently. Look, the Hyundai i10, the Grand i10 is one of the icons, I think, of the industry as well in terms of hatchback. So you've done fantastically well. You launched your first hybrid vehicle in the country.
Yeah.
What is the broader strategy among ICE engines versus hybrid versus EV for Hyundai?
So the only reason why we launched the Santa Fe hybrid is it doesn't come in diesel anymore. Diesel is still the first choice in that segment for customers. If you look at where the Santa Fe is positioned, it's basically very close to the X3, BMW X3. And the X3 diesel retails on average 110 units a month, and the hybrid averages 4 a month. So that gives you an indication. And it's not, I think there's about 150,000 difference between the diesel and the hybrid. But we'd rather have the Santa Fe than not have it. It's positioned right, like I say, right in that segment against your X3, which is the best performer there. And we're retailing 10 a month, which was our forecast from the start. It's not a lot down from the previous Santa Fe. But it's a fantastic vehicle, and it's also an active hybrid. It's not a mild hybrid. It's a hybrid that works properly, and it works all the time. It's not that the battery kicks in only for the first couple of kilometers and then you go on full petrol. It will, you can be cruising at 130, 140 and the EV will kick in and give more power. Or when you decelerate, it will be full EV while you're driving and obviously regenerate power for the batteries all the time, whether it's through braking or deceleration. And the battery, I've driven one now for 20,000 kilometers, and it's never gone under a quarter. So that's not an issue that you're going to run out of battery power. But a very, very good, sophisticated system, hybrid system that is in the Santa Fe.
And Hyundai's view on EVs in general in this market?
We have EVs available to us. We could start ordering and bringing EVs, but it's just not viable. They're just too expensive. Some of one of our Chinese competitors have just launched one now between 300,000 and 400,000 rand. Be interesting to see how those sales take off. I'm still a believer full EV is not going to have a massive impact in our market. Hybrid or plug-in hybrid is probably the sweet spot. And when you drive an EV, you need to now work out when can I charge, where can I charge, especially when you do longer distances. And I think that's still a big sort of deterrent for customers to buy EVs. And it's never going to be your first car in the family anyway. It will be your third or fourth car for short commutes. But it's also not free to run. You still have to pay electricity. And especially when you charge at the public sort of charging stations, it's quite expensive. It's a lot more than if you charge at home, but not everybody's got depends where you want to charge and what time of day. A friend of mine, he did the launch for that the model sort of 360,000, and it cost 270 rand to charge full. And then you get between 200 and 300 kilometers. You call a rand a kilometer, it's not that much less than a grand out 10 on petrol.
And then you take into account the anxiety of where you recharge and that kind of stuff.
Yes, your service and maintenance cost is lower over the ownership period. But yeah, like I say, I think hybrids, especially plug-in hybrids, probably the sweet spot.
The other thing we talk a lot about is buckies. You see that Kia has brought the Tasma, very funky looking car. But does Hyundai have a bucky they're going to bring to the country?
So I've been asking for 25 years. They haven't listened. They haven't said no. It will never happen. I think there is work in the background, but nothing is confirmed. And they've got the platform now with the Tasman, because we share platforms with Kia in the other models. So I don't see why we can't share the same platform. They might just make it a lot better looking than the Kia is.
The Kia is divisive, I think. You're going to love it or hate it.
The word is different. Yeah, so interesting to see how it appeals to our market, but I think they're going to have a tough time with that styling.
It's not as ugly as Elon Musk's bucky.
Yeah,
that breaks new records.
No, 100%.
But you leverage like. I understand Hyundai produce a lot in India for this market?
Yes, they got two plants in India. In fact, they've just bought their third plant. They bought the General Motors plant in Pune. The other two plants are in Chennai. They manufacture 840,000 cars a year there. With a new plant, they'll go to over 1 million. They're obviously a big player in the Indian market, domestic market. They're number 2 or 3 there consistently. We import 70% of our volume is from India, because that's Grand 10, Exeter, Venue, Alcazar, and those are volume models in this market.
And I suppose it helps you stay price competitive in this market.
Yeah, no, it does help. It does help, and that's why Hyundai Motor Company decided to open factories in other regions, because in South Korea itself, they're heavily unionized. The labor is expensive. And from there, they, like I said, they went to India. They're in Indonesia. They got a plant. That's where we get our Creta from. Czech Republic manufactures also vehicles like the Tucson and i30N. So we got various plants that we source from, but the majority is from India.
The Indian thing has been important for a number of the OEMs here, because it allows price competitive. Because as the Chinese have come in, it's a very price-aggressive proposition that they bring.
No, it is. And HMC has been very good with us. We had a good partnership. We sit around the table and say, okay, we got a challenge here in this segment. This is a new model we got to launch. This is the price we got to bring it in. Otherwise, you're going to flog a dead horse. And then so far, they've been very, very helpful and assistant, and they'll assist with price support and make sure that we launch it at the correct price. And even in marketing support, they've been a very good, parent company for us. And then we're an important market for them.
So look, as the Chinese have grown their market share, you guys have held your own.
Yeah. So year to date, we've actually increased our sales, increased our market share slightly. So hopefully that will continue. And Extra is the model that gave us that incremental volume this year. We launched Extra last year, September. Figures will be out later today, but we are 6% up on last year, September, and flat on last month. So as long as we just still increase and then maintain our market share at least, I think it's a good job in this market.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The competitive of the market compared to a few years ago, it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the i30 hot hatch,
Yes.
which, look, my journalist telling me was a deeply impressive performance. Are we going to expect more N-type products in South Africa?
So N have gone also very electric. The Ioniq 5N, the Ioniq 6N, they've just launched recently. So the i30N, there is a facelift that they're producing in Czech Republic. The problem is it's Australian spec. And if in Australia, if you go over 100 or 120, then there's an alarm that sounds permanently. So it's not something that's going to work in our market.
Oh.
So we've requested, I said, just send us a car. We'll see if our technical guys can get rid of that alarm or that pig. Or just take it to Black Pad. I'm sure there's something there that will be able to detune it. But so far, it's been a struggle. I'm trying to get it in. But Kona N, we've sold the last Kona Ns now. So there's no more Kona N. And like I said, it's only the i30N in ICE, so that's still being manufactured. It's the i20N, but that's in Turkey. So we don't import from Turkey. That's just for the European market. Yeah, I don't know what the future of that is, if they're going to have a new i20N as well. But like I said, the N performance has gone a lot of focus on the full EVs.
Until we meet again in 12 months' time, what are you launching over the next 12 months?
So we got the new model Venue, hopefully second quarter next year, Creta facelift, and the all-new Palisade, which is a very impressive vehicle, also hybrid only, but with a 2.5 turbo petrol and EV combination. So bigger than the Santa Fe in terms of drivetrain.
Jeez, it's impressive the way you guys are holding your own.
No, it is. Look, I think our biggest competitive advantage is probably the fact that we own 43 of our dealers. And that's a legacy thing. When we took over the Hyundai brand, nobody wanted the Hyundai dealership because, brand left the country and
it was a dirty word 20 years ago.
Mess, yeah. So the headline in the Sunday Times in January 2000 was no one in their right mind would buy another Hyundai. In April that year, we signed the distribution agreement, and then we took over some current facilities that the previous distributor had, and just opened and started selling and servicing. But yeah, nobody wanted the dealership, so we just did it ourselves. And that's worked for us now. Because if you look at all these new brands that come in, they're all multi-franchise, Yeah. There's especially the independent groups. They will put 4 or 5 brands in one building, one workshop, And I'm not a fan of multi-franchise because you lose focus. You sell what's flavor of the month. And whoever that manager is, he's got 4 or 5 brands to keep happy. He's always in meetings. He's always away. We're 99% of our 43 dealers, and that's close to 70% of our volume goes through our own dealers. And they stand alone Hyundai. It's Hyundai focused 24/7. No distractions. And we've got a very good, call it performance culture in our dealer network. The guys have been around for a long time, and we also promote from within. We've seen to take a dealer principle from Toyota into Hyundai, it just doesn't work, or from Volkswagen. I promise you it doesn't work.
Because there's an understanding of that brand proposition.
And that culture, just we call it activity-driven culture. The salespeople don't sit and wait. They prospect. They look at the database. They have 3-4-year-old customers. Phone them. So we got a promotion this month on Venue. Can you come and a Tucson customer? Because we've also repositioned some of our products, actually those products at low prices to be competitive. You could put a customer in a new Tucson now, probably the same payment he's paying on his 3-year-old, because of the retail price that was adjusted. So they're very, very good in that sense, our dealer network. And that's our saving grace, I believe. And also we focus a lot of corporates. We've got specific corporate salespeople in the dealer network that looks after corporates only. They don't sit on the dealer floor. They go out, they got their set of corporate customers. They need to get more customers because the corporates are still wary of the Chinese, we've got the trust of the corporates.
You've built that trust.
Yeah, I know we've got good resale value. Our part supply is at 92% first pick ratio. So that's important for the corporates. It's a business. That car is not there for joyrides. It's actually to do a job in a business. And if that's down waiting for parts, they lose money.
Because look, I've sympathy for the independent dealer or multi-franchise because you're de-risking yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've when you go to a Hyundai, you're fourth on the market.
Yeah.
You're established. You've got a track record. You know how to react to changes in the market. So it's not as risky.
Yeah.
So you don't need to multi-franchise because
They do, but I refuse that they multi-franchise where the Chinese are independent. You must choose. So you come to me and say, I want to put the tour in. I said, well, then choose. I know the tour. I refuse. So other brands are allowing it, unfortunately. But I just refuse.
As long as you can bring the models and
correct,
revenue and so on.
Like you say, we're number 4 in the market.
Position.
They should, if in each market, they should be able to do good volume. But yeah, it's a fight.
Well,
fight.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. But it gets interesting. It's never a dull moment in this industry.
The naamsa figures are ticking up now. Because we got used to this world where it's 40,000 vehicles a month. And I remember, 10 years ago, in West Bank days, it was 60,000 vehicles.
Yeah.
We got used to this 40,000, but no, 40,000 isn't good enough.
I have my reservations on the numbers that gets reported. I'm not sure all the cars actually have customers.
Yeah.
There's inflation. I know, because we've had colleagues going to some of these other brands, and they tell me they get a number, and that's what they have to report.
Does that not come out in the wash?
Not really, because we don't. So if you talk to the banks and the 3 major banks, and you add up what they finance, and then you take, your leasing companies would do a certain amount, and I'm just talking dealer retail sales now, not fleet or rental. There's a large gap there, and it can't be all cash. Cars are being reported, gets incentivized, put on the used car stand, but they're not on the road immediately. But that's the industry I suppose we're in. What really should happen, you should link it to the NATIS. Actually take the license and reg numbers, and that would be, call it months in arrears, or month in arrears, because all it takes 1 days to get a car proper, This is a lag. And if you do that, it will give us more true figures, what the market is. You look at GDP growth, it's less than 1%. And for years, you can track it. GDP does that, car sales does that. GDP does this, car sales does it. It follows because it's economic activity, The fact that the market's growing 15% and you have a GDP less than 1% just doesn't make economic sense. There's no logic, except that guys are playing games.
But look at the interest rate coming down. We're also very beholden
That's
to interest rates. And general negative sentiment.
Yeah.
We've forgotten about load shedding, but a year ago we were sitting in load shedding,
Yeah, look, like you say, we're very resilient. You drive around the pothole. Now it's a 4-way stop, not the traffic light. Carry on, Or you put up a solar panel. Put up a water tank. That's what you do.
There's a lot of talk about how SUVs have grown. Well, if you've seen our roads, of course they've grown. You feel less vulnerable to the roads with an SUV than you do on it.
No, 100%. 100%.
It was great to talk. Thank you
Same
so much for your time.
Okay, always welcome.